The Great Hall of Nexus Prime buzzed with the voices of 47 different species. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered for the monthly Galactic Council meeting. Some walked on two legs, others slithered or floated. All of them were here to discuss trade routes, territorial disputes, and the usual business of running a galaxy. Elder Vorthak stood slowly from his seat. The ancient Keth Mori was older than most civilizations. His gray skin was marked with scars from countless battles, and his four eyes had seen the rise and fall of empires. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 10,000 years. "I must speak of the old warnings," Vorthak said. The hall grew quiet. Even the most powerful species respected the elders. In the deep void between stars, there sleeps a species that knows no surrender. They call themselves human. When they wake, the galaxy will tremble. This is written in the oldest texts of my people. Supreme Admiral Zektar of the Vextar Empire laughed. His metallic voice echoed through the hall. "Old fool, we have mapped every star system for 10,000 light years. There is no such species." General Krex of the Draknari pounded his fist on the table. "The Draknari have conquered 600 worlds. We fear nothing." Mind Speaker Thala of the Mandaree touched her temple. "I have searched the thoughts of 1,000,000 beings. No such species exists in any mind." Vorthak's ancient eyes grew sad. "You have grown soft in your power. You have forgotten what true warriors look like, but the warning remains. When the humans wake, they will show you what your ancestors once were." The council dismissed the old warning. They had heard such tales before. The galaxy was ruled by the strong, and they were the strongest. What could one unknown species do against their combined might? Far away on the third planet of a yellow star, something was stirring. Captain Lee Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Spirit. The ship was humanity's first faster-than-light vessel. It was not pretty or advanced by galactic standards, but it was built by human hands and powered by human dreams. "All systems ready, Captain," said Chief Engineer Park Soo-jin. She had worked for 3 years to make the FTL drive functional. Her hands were still stained with oil from the final repairs. "Course set for Proxima Centauri," reported Navigation Officer Kim Woo-bin. "First jump in human history." Communications Specialist Choi Hai-wan smiled from her station. "Earth Control wishes us good luck, sir." "The whole planet is watching." Dae-ho nodded. He was a simple man from Busan who had always dreamed of the stars. Now he was about to make that dream real for all humanity. "Take us out," he ordered. Space twisted around them. Reality bent and folded. For a moment that felt like forever, they existed nowhere and everywhere at once. Then they were there in the Proxima Centauri system. "Jump successful," announced Woo-bin. "We are officially the first humans in another star system." The crew cheered. They had done it. Humanity had reached the stars. Their celebration was cut short when the sensors detected an approaching ship. "Unknown vessel. This is the Vextar patrol ship Dominator," came a harsh voice over the communications. "You will surrender immediately and prepare to be enslaved." Hewan looked confused. "Enslaved? Did they just say enslaved?" "I think they did," Dae-ho replied. He opened the channel. "This is Captain Lee Dae-ho of the Earthship Indomitable Spirit. We are explorers on a peaceful mission. We mean no harm." "Peaceful intentions are irrelevant," the alien voice replied. "All species serve the Vextar Empire. Resistance will result in destruction." Dae-ho looked at his crew. Soo-jin was already running diagnostics on their weapons. Woo-bin had tactical displays up and running. Hai-wan was recording everything for Earth. "I'm sorry," Dae-ho said into the communicator, "but we don't serve anyone. Humanity is free and we intend to stay that way." There was silence on the other end, then confused chattering in an alien language. Did they just refuse? One alien voice asked another. "No species refuses the Vextar," came the reply. "They must be malfunctioning. Destroy them." 3 Vextar ships decloaked around the Indomitable Spirit. They were sleek and deadly, armed with weapons that could crack a moon. By all logic, the human ship should have been destroyed in seconds, but logic had never stopped humans before. "Soo-jin, how much power can you give me?" Dae-ho asked. "All of it, sir. Everything we've got." Woo-bin, lock onto the lead ship. "Fire everything we have." "They're not even raising shields," Woo-bin reported. "I think they don't consider us a threat." The Indomitable Spirit was armed with simple kinetic weapons, railguns that fired chunks of metal at incredible speed. Against the advanced alien ships, they should have been useless. But the Vextar had never fought anyone who refused to surrender. They had never faced weapons fired by beings who would rather die than kneel. The first railgun shot punched through the lead ship's hull like paper. The aliens had shields, but they were designed to stop energy weapons. The simple metal slug traveled so fast it went right through. "Impossible," came the alien voice. "Our hull is impenetrable." "Not by us," Deho said grimly. "Fire again." The second shot hit the ship's power core. The explosion lit up space for miles around. The other two ships finally raised their shields and returned fire. Energy beams lashed out at the human vessel. The hull began to heat up and buckle. "Shields failing," reported Sujin. "Hull breach on deck 3. Can we jump?" Deho asked. "Give me 30 seconds, Wubin replied, his hands flying over the controls. They didn't have 30 seconds. The alien ships were closing in for the kill. That's when Deho did something that would echo through galactic history. He ordered a ramming attack. "All power to engines," he commanded. "We're going through them." The indomitable spirit, already damaged and outgunned, turned directly toward the nearest alien ship. The Vextar couldn't believe what they were seeing. No species had ever used their ship as a weapon. The collision sent both ships spinning. The alien vessel, built for space combat, crumpled under the impact. The human ship, built like the seagoing vessels of their ancestors, held together just long enough. "Jump now," Deho yelled. Space twisted again. They were gone, leaving behind 2 destroyed alien ships and 1 very confused survivor. The surviving Vextar captain transmitted his report back to the Empire. His message was simple but terrifying. "We have encountered a species that does not surrender. They use their ships as weapons. They fight with no regard for their own lives. Request immediate reinforcements." On Nexus Prime, Elder Vorthak felt a disturbance in the cosmic winds, somewhere in the galaxy. His people's ancient warning had come true. Humanity was awake, and the galaxy would never be the same. News of the human encounter spread through the galactic networks faster than light. In the command center of the Vextar Empire, Supreme Admiral Zektar studied the reports with growing anger. 3 ships destroyed by primitives? He snarled. "Impossible." "The evidence is clear, Supreme Admiral," his aide replied nervously. "These humans refused to surrender and fought with unprecedented aggression." Zektar's metal claws scraped against his command throne. "No species fights the Vextar Empire and survives. Prepare a full battle fleet. We will crush this upstart race before they can become a real threat." The fleet that assembled was massive, 300 ships carrying weapons that could burn continents. The Vextar had conquered half the galaxy with smaller forces. Against 1 primitive planet, it should have been complete overkill. On Earth, humanity was preparing for war. Admiral Yoon Tae-young stood in the newly constructed orbital command center, watching construction crews work around the clock. In the months since the indomitable spirit's return, every nation on Earth had united for the first time in human history. "Defense Platforms 7 and 8 are online," reported his aide. "The orbital shipyards have completed 12 frigates and 6 destroyers." Tae-young nodded. It wasn't much, but it was what they had. His daughter, Commander Yoon So-young, approached with the latest fighter squadron reports. "Dad, the pilots are ready," she said. "We've got volunteers from every nation. They know the odds. And they're still willing to fight?" So-young smiled. "They're human. Of course they're willing to fight." In the engineering sections, Namgite worked frantically on new shield technology. The data from the indomitable spirit had given them their first look at alien tech. It was far beyond human science, but Nam was determined to bridge the gap. "If we can't match their power," he told his team, "we'll match their determination." Dr. Lim Ye-jin led another team working on captured FTL drive components. "We need more ships," she muttered, studying alien engine designs. "Many more ships." The Vextar fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system like a plague of metal locusts. Their ships gleamed with deadly purpose, each one capable of destroying cities. "Primitive planet," Admiral Zektar broadcast. "You will surrender immediately. Your resistance at Proxima Centauri was noted. It will not happen again." Admiral Tae-young opened communications from Earth's orbital defense platform. "This is Admiral Yoon Tae-young of the Earth Defense Force. You are not welcome in our system. Leave now or we will make you leave." The alien laughter that came back was like grinding metal. "You have 18 ships. We have 300. Surrender now and we will make your slavery comfortable." "We don't do slavery," Tae-young replied simply, "and we don't surrender." The battle began with the aliens confident of easy victory. Their ships moved forward in perfect formation. energy shields shimmering around their hulls. They had fought this same battle 1,000 times against 1,000 different species. It always ended the same way. This time was different. The human defense platforms opened fire first, not with energy weapons but with massive railguns firing solid projectiles. The aliens raised their shields, expecting to absorb the attack easily. The metal slugs punched straight through the energy barriers and into ship hulls. The Vextar shields had never been designed to stop simple kinetic weapons. No civilized species used such primitive tactics. Impossible, Zektar screamed. Adjust shield frequencies. But before they could adapt, the human fighters struck. Commander So Young led her squadron in a diving attack that should have been suicide. Fightercraft against capital ships was military madness. The aliens prepared to swat them aside like insects. Instead, they watched in horror as human pilots flew their damaged fighters directly into alien ship hulls. The explosions bloomed across space like deadly flowers. They're using their fighters as missiles, one alien captain reported. They're deliberately crashing into us. No species does that, Zektar replied. It's impossible. It's happening, sir. They're not trying to survive. They're trying to take us with them. The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships fought with a savagery that the aliens had never encountered. When their weapons were destroyed, they rammed. When their engines failed, they used emergency thrusters to make final attacks. When all else failed, they broadcast targeting data to their surviving allies. Engineering genius Namgi Tai had his breakthrough mid-battle. Using captured alien technology, he activated the first human energy shields just as a Vextar destroyer was about to finish off Earth's orbital shipyard. Shield online, he reported. We can take their hits now. But the real shock came when Dr. Lim Yejin's team completed their analysis of alien FTL drives. In the middle of the battle, 3 human ships simply vanished and reappeared behind the alien fleet. How did they jump without jump gates? A Vextar engineer asked. They reverse-engineered our drives, came the reply. In the middle of a battle. That should take years of study. The tide turned when the humans introduced psychological warfare. Communications specialist Choi Hae-won, now serving as Earth's chief communications officer, began broadcasting the death screams of destroyed alien crews across all Vextar frequencies. The aliens, who had telepathic links between ships, suddenly found their own communication networks turned against them. The sounds of their dying filled their minds, breaking their formation and coordination. They're in our heads, panic-stricken voices reported. They're using our own telepathy against us. Admiral Zektar watched his perfect fleet dissolve into chaos. 2/3 of his ships were destroyed or damaged. The humans had only lost half their small force, but they were still fighting with undiminished fury. Retreat, he ordered for the first time in his career. Full retreat. As the alien fleet fled the solar system, Admiral Tae-young opened communications once more. Tell your empire, he said calmly, that Earth is under human protection. Anyone who tries to enslave us will face the same fate. In the aftermath, Commander So Young stood on the observation deck of the orbital station, looking out at the wreckage of the battle. Her father joined her. Think they'll be back? She asked. Probably, Tae-young replied. But next time we'll be ready. And we'll have more ships. How can you be sure? Tae-young smiled. Because we're human. We don't just survive. We learn, we adapt, and we never give up. Across the galaxy, other species were taking notice. The report seemed impossible, but the evidence was clear. A species calling itself human had defeated the mighty Vextar Empire in open battle. On Nexus Prime, Elder Vorthak received the battle reports with satisfaction. So it begins, he whispered. The sleepers have awakened. In the deepest archives of the Kethmori, ancient texts spoke of a prophecy. When the stars grow dark and hope seems lost, warriors will rise from the outer rim. They will know no fear, accept no defeat, and bow to no master. They will carry fire in their hearts and freedom in their hands. The galaxy was about to discover what those words truly meant. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, humanity was no longer content to simply defend. Fleet Admiral Jang Hyun-soo stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned battleship Soul's Pride, leading humanity's first offensive strike into alien space. The human fleet looked nothing like the sleek alien vessels they faced. Built in a hurry from converted merchant ships, mining vessels, and purpose-built warships, they were ugly and practical. But they were crewed by humans who had learned the most important lesson in the galaxy. Never surrender. Target confirmed. reported Captain Han-seok Jin from his fighter cockpit. Vextar Colony World Kepler 442b. Estimated garrison of 50 ships plus orbital platforms. Copy that, Han. Admiral Jang replied. Dr. Song, are the new armor plates ready? Dr. Song Mina checked her readings from the engineering section. Adaptive armor is online, Admiral. It learns from every hit and adjusts accordingly. The aliens have never seen anything like it. The human fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Kepler system. The Vextar defenders were ready for them, or thought they were. Unknown ships, this is Commander Vector of the Kepler Defense Force, came the alien transmission. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. Admiral Jang opened communications. This is Fleet Admiral Jang Hyunsu of the Terran Fleet. We're here to free the slaves you've taken. Surrender and we'll let you leave. The alien response was swift and harsh. Slaves are property. We do not negotiate with property. Wrong answer, Jang said simply. All ships engage. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The humans didn't just fight to win. They fought to completely destroy their enemy's ability to make war. While the main fleet engaged the Vextar warships, smaller human teams landed on the planet's surface. General Baek Do-hyun led the ground assault with a simple mission. Free every slave and destroy every piece of infrastructure that supported the slave trade. Remember, he told his troops, we're not conquerors. We're liberators. Every being we free is another ally in this war. The Vextar had enslaved dozens of species on Kepler 442b. They expected the humans to fight like other species. Capture territory, hold strategic points, negotiate for favorable terms. Instead, the humans systematically destroyed slave compounds, freed prisoners, and recruited them into their growing coalition. Among the liberated was Thys of the Mandaree, a telepathic species that had been enslaved for generations. You're freeing us? Thys asked, his mind touching General Baek's thoughts with wonder. No species has ever fought just to free others. We're not like other species, Baek replied. Freedom isn't something you negotiate for. It's something you take. Meanwhile, in space, Captain Han-seok Jin was revolutionizing fighter combat. Earth's knowledge of atmospheric flight had given humans advantages that spaceborne species never developed. His squadron flew in patterns that made no sense to alien tacticians. They're flying like atmospheric aircraft, reported a confused Vextar pilot. In vacuum. It shouldn't work, but it did work. Human fighters dove and climbed, rolled and looped, using three-dimensional thinking that flat space combat had never required. Their attacks came from impossible angles. Their formations shifted like flocks of birds. One by one, the Vextar ships fell. Dr. Song Mina's adaptive armor proved itself in battle. Every time an alien weapon hit a human ship, the armor analyzed the energy signature and adjusted to resist it better. By the end of the battle, human ships were shrugging off attacks that had been devastating at the beginning. How is this possible? Demanded the Vextar commander. Our weapons are becoming less effective with each shot. It's called learning, Admiral Jang replied over the communications. You should try it sometime. The real breakthrough came when the liberated aliens began sharing intelligence. Thys and his people had been slaves for so long that they knew every detail of Vextar military structure, supply lines, and weaknesses. The Draknari Empire has a non-aggression pact with the Vextar, Thys explained. But they use slaves too, many slaves. General Baek looked at the tactical displays showing Draknari territory. How many slaves? Billions, Thys replied. Across hundreds of worlds. Then we have work to do, Baek said grimly. The Battle of Kepler 442b ended in complete human victory. Every Vextar ship was destroyed or captured. Every slave was freed. Every piece of slave trading infrastructure was reduced to scrap metal. But the humans weren't finished. Admiral Jang sent a message to the Draknari Empire. This is Fleet Admiral Jang of the Terran Coalition. We know you keep slaves. Free them and we'll leave you alone. Keep them and we'll free them ourselves. The Draknari response came from General Krex himself. Insolent humans. The Draknari Empire has existed for 10,000 years. We do not bow to upstart primitives. Captain Shin Era, commanding a fast strike force, answered that challenge within a week. Her ships hit 3 Draknari slave worlds before the Empire knew what was happening. The attacks followed the same pattern. Destroy military forces, free slaves, recruit allies, move on. Captain Shin's motto became legendary among the liberated species. We came, we saw, we freed. The Draknari sent a full battle fleet to stop her. Shin's response was to split her force and hit 6 more worlds simultaneously. How are they moving so fast? Demanded General Krex. Our intelligence says they have fewer than 100 ships. They do, his aide replied. But those ships are crewed by volunteers from every species they've liberated. Their crews work around the clock, and they fight with the fury of beings who remember slavery. By the end of 3 months, 7 alien species had been liberated from slavery. The human fleet had grown from dozens to hundreds of ships, crewed by a coalition of species united by one principle: freedom was worth fighting for. Elder Vorthak, watching from Nexus Prime, contacted the human fleet directly. I am Vorthak of the Kethmori, he said in his ancient voice. I would speak with your leaders. Admiral Jang accepted the communication with respect. Elder, we're honored. What can we do for you? You can succeed where we failed, Vorthak replied. Long ago, my people fought for freedom too. We won many battles, but we grew tired of war. We accepted peace with slavery, telling ourselves it was wisdom. You have awakened something in yourselves that we lost, the fire that burns in the hearts of those who refuse to kneel. We're not tired yet, Jang said simply. I know, Vorthak replied with something that might have been a smile. That is why you will succeed where we failed. The galaxy has forgotten what true freedom looks like. Show them. The liberated species began calling the humans by a name that spread across the galaxy: the Unbroken Ones. They had good reason. In every battle against every enemy, humanity had one response to demands for surrender: no. The Galactic Council finally realized they faced something unprecedented. These humans didn't just fight for territory or resources. They fought for an idea: that no sentient being should bow to another, and that idea was spreading like wildfire through the slave populations of the galaxy. Chancellor Morduk called an emergency session. These humans are disrupting the natural order, he declared. If they continue, every slave species in the galaxy will demand freedom. Maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing, suggested Ambassador Kyle Tar of the Hegemony. The room fell silent. No one had ever questioned the fundamental order of galactic civilization before. But somewhere in space, human ships continued their work of liberation, carrying with them a simple message that echoed Elder Vorthak's ancient prophecy. When the darkness seems deepest, the light of freedom will shine brightest. The galaxy was about to learn that some fires once lit could never be extinguished. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been in session for 3 days. Representatives from 23 species filled the Great Hall of Nexus Prime, their voices raised in anger and fear. The humans must be stopped, declared Chancellor Morduk of the Hegemony, his tentacles writhing with agitation. They have upset the balance that has kept peace in the galaxy for millennia. Peace built on slavery is no peace at all, Elder Vorthak replied quietly from his ancient seat. The old Kethmori had watched this scene play out before long ago. Supreme Admiral Zektar, his pride still wounded from the defeats at Earth and Kepler, slammed his metal fist on the council table. The humans have cost us hundreds of ships and dozens of worlds. They fight without honor, without rules. They fight to win, Vorthak observed, something you have forgotten how to do. The debate raged until Chancellor Morduk called for order. We will form the Grand Alliance, he announced. 23 species united against the human threat. We will bring 10,000 ships to bear. This ends now. Meanwhile, in the Arcturus system, Admiral Kwan Seung-ho reviewed the intelligence reports with growing concern. The liberated species had brought word of the massive fleet assembling against humanity. 10,000 ships, he said to his staff. We have 800. Numbers aren't everything, replied Colonel Park Jin-woo, now serving as intelligence chief. Remember Earth? Remember Kepler? This is different, Kwan replied. They're not underestimating us this time. They're coming with everything they have. Elder Vorthak arrived at the human fleet 3 days before the battle. His ancient transport ship docked with the flagship Soul's Hope, and the old alien met with the human commanders. You have awakened something in yourselves that my people lost long ago, he told them, the fire that burns in the hearts of those who refuse to kneel. But beware, the galaxy will test that fire now as it has never been tested before. Admiral Quan studied the tactical displays showing the approaching enemy fleet. "Elder, we appreciate your support, but the odds are impossible." "I have lived for 10,000 years," Vorthek replied. "I have seen empires rise and fall, species born and die, but I have never seen anything like humanity. You don't fight for territory or wealth. You fight for something greater. The idea that all beings should be free." "Ideas don't stop plasma cannons," Admiral Quan said grimly. "Don't they?" Vorthak smiled. "Watch and see." The Grand Alliance fleet arrived at Arcturus like a swarm of locusts blocking out the stars. Every major military power in the galaxy was represented. Fextar dreadnoughts flew alongside Draknari battlecruisers. Mindari telepathic command ships coordinated with hegemony fleet carriers. They brought weapons that could crack planets, shields that had never been penetrated, and warriors who had conquered galaxies. Admiral Oh Jung-min commanded the human defense from the bridge of the indomitable Spirit Sku, the new flagship built to honor the original explorer vessel. Around her, 800 human and allied ships prepared for the fight of their lives. "All ships, this is Admiral O," she broadcast on all frequencies. "Today we fight not just for Earth, not just for our colonies, but for every enslaved being in the galaxy. We fight for freedom itself." The response came from 1,000,000 volunteers. Human voices mixed with the liberated species they had freed. Fextar slaves who had learned to fight. Draknari bondsmen who remembered their honor. Mindari who had broken their telepathic chains. "We stand with humanity," they called back. "Freedom or death." Chancellor Morduk opened communications from the Alliance flagship. "Humans, you are outnumbered 12-1. Surrender now and we will grant you quick deaths." Admiral O's response echoed across both fleets. "We are human. We don't surrender." The battle began at dawn on the third day. The Alliance fleet moved forward in perfect formation, confident of easy victory. They had fought this battle 1,000 times against 1,000 different species. It always ended the same way. This time was different. The human fleet didn't meet them head-on. Instead, they scattered into small groups using tactics that made no sense to traditional military thinking. Each group seemed to be operating independently, with no central coordination. "They're running," observed General Krex of the Draknari, finally showing sense, but they weren't running. They were hunting. Captain Han Seok-jin, now commanding a strike squadron, led his ships in a diving attack on the Alliance left flank. His target wasn't the biggest ship or the most important one. It was the communications relay that coordinated the Alliance's telepathic command network. The attack succeeded beyond all expectations. When the relay ship exploded, it created a feedback loop through the Mindari telepathic links. Suddenly, the perfectly coordinated Alliance fleet was flying blind and deaf. "Communications down," reported panicked voices across the Alliance fleet. "We've lost coordination." That's when the human fleet revealed its true nature. What had looked like scattered groups were actually precisely positioned strike forces. Each one had a specific target, a specific mission, and all of them struck at exactly the same moment. Dr. Song Minna's latest innovation proved devastating. Her viral computer weapons infected Alliance ship systems, turning their own computers against them. Weapons fired randomly, shields fluctuated. Life support systems reported false emergencies. But the real shock came when Commander Ryu Haiwan led her battle group in a direct assault on the Alliance flagship. Her ship, the Defiant, was already badly damaged from earlier fighting. Any rational commander would have pulled back. Instead, she ordered a ramming attack. "This is Commander Ryu to all ships," she broadcast as her vessel accelerated toward the enemy flagship. "Tell Earth we were here. Tell them we fought. Tell them we won." The Defiant struck the Alliance command ship at full speed. The explosion could be seen from 3 star systems away. Both ships were destroyed instantly, but the psychological effect on the Alliance fleet was devastating. "They did it again," whispered voices across the enemy fleet. "They used their ship as a weapon. They chose death over defeat." The Alliance formation began to break apart. Species that had fought together for millennia suddenly couldn't coordinate their attacks. Ships began pulling back, their crews shaken by the humans' absolute refusal to yield. Admiral O pressed the attack. "All ships advance. Show them what freedom looks like." The battle raged for 6 days. The humans introduced new tactics with each passing hour. They used disabled ships as decoys. They turned asteroid fields into minefields. They broadcast the voices of liberated slaves on all frequencies. reminding the Alliance crews what they were really fighting to preserve. By the fourth day, desertion began among the Alliance ranks. Crews from enslaved species simply abandoned their posts. Some even turned their weapons on their former masters. The Vextar Third Fleet has gone silent, reported intelligence. The Draknari Fifth Army is in full retreat. Half the Mindari command ships are reporting mutinies. The tide turned completely when the liberated species rose up across Alliance space. Coordinated by messages from the human fleet, slave populations on hundreds of worlds began simultaneous rebellions. The Alliance suddenly found itself fighting a war on 1,000 fronts. Admiral O received a transmission from Earth. It was President Lee Soo-jin, speaking for all humanity. Admiral, the whole galaxy is watching. Show them what we stand for. Copy that, Madam President, O replied. All ships, final assault. For freedom! The Grand Alliance fleet broke and scattered. Ships that had ruled the galaxy for millennia fled before vessels built in Earth's orbital shipyards. For the first time in galactic history, the established order had been shattered by a species they had considered primitive. Chancellor Morduk's final transmission was filled with bewilderment. How? How did primitives defeat the greatest military alliance in history? Elder Vorthak answered from the human flagship. Because they remember something you forgot, old friend. They remember what it means to be free. And free beings will always defeat slaves, no matter how powerful those slaves believe themselves to be. The Battle of Arcturus ended with complete human victory. The Grand Alliance was broken. Its fleets scattered across the galaxy. The old order that had kept billions in chains was shattered beyond repair. But the humans weren't celebrating. They were already planning their next move. Sir, reported Colonel Park to Admiral O, we're receiving surrender requests from 12 different species. They want to join the coalition. Admiral O looked out at the wreckage of the greatest fleet ever assembled. Tell them they're welcome, she said. But they have to understand we don't rule. We liberate. Every being is free to choose their own path. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The humans had done the impossible. They had defeated the combined might of 23 species and emerged victorious. Elder Vorthak's ancient prophecy was coming true. The galaxy would belong to those who refused to kneel, and humanity was just getting started. 2 years had passed since the Battle of Arcturus, and the galaxy was a different place. The Terran coalition now controlled a third of known space, but unlike the old empires, they ruled through invitation rather than conquest. President Lee Soo-jin stood in the coalition assembly on New Geneva Station, addressing representatives from 47 species, the same number that had once gathered on Nexus Prime to dismiss humanity as a myth. The coalition stands for 3 principles, she declared. Freedom of choice, protection of the innocent, and the right of all beings to determine their own destiny. We do not rule you. We stand with you. The applause came from beings who had never known freedom before humanity arrived. Former slaves now sat as equals with their former masters, united in a government based on cooperation rather than domination. Admiral Park Jin-woo, now commanding the Coalition Exploration Fleet, led missions to the furthest reaches of space. Every week brought news of new species discovered, new worlds liberated, new allies joining the growing coalition. We found 17 more slave colonies in the Outer Rim, he reported to the assembly. The locals are requesting liberation assistance. Approved, President Lee replied. Send the Fifth Fleet and remember, we free them. We don't conquer them. Dr. Yu Sang-mi had become the coalition's chief scientist, developing new technologies that were shared freely among all member species. Her latest breakthrough combined human engineering with alien knowledge to create ships faster and more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The difference, she explained, to a gathering of scientists from 12 different worlds, is that we share our discoveries. Knowledge belongs to everyone, not just the powerful. But the old powers had not given up. In the deepest reaches of space, the remnants of the Vextar Empire and the Draknari war fleets gathered for one final strike. If they couldn't rule the galaxy, they would destroy the species that had taken it from them. Supreme Admiral Zektar, his body more machine than flesh after the injuries from previous defeats, commanded a fleet of desperate survivors. Alongside him flew General Krex of the Draknari, his honor stained by defeat after defeat. This time we target their homeworld, Zektar declared. We burn Earth to ash and scatter its atoms across space. Without their birth world, the humans will lose their spirit. Agreed, Krex replied. We fight not for victory but for vengeance. Let the galaxy remember what happens to those who defy the natural order. Their combined fleet numbered 3,000 ships, all that remained of two great empires. It was still massive, armed with weapons of last resort that had never been used in warfare. They intended to commit genocide. The attack came without warning. The combined Vextar-Draknari fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, ready to burn Earth's atmosphere away with planet-killing weapons. Instead, they found Earth transformed. The blue planet was surrounded by a defensive network that defied comprehension. Thousands of orbital platforms bristled with weapons. Space stations the size of cities floated in formation. The asteroid belt had been converted into a vast minefield, but the real shock was the fleet that rose to meet them. Ships from 47 different species filled space around Earth. Humans flew alongside their former enemies, united by shared ideals rather than fear or greed. The coalition fleet numbered over 5,000 vessels, crewed by beings who had chosen to stand together. Impossible, Zektar breathed. How did they know we were coming? The answer came from General Hong Kyung-soo, now commanding Earth's planetary defense. Because we're human. We don't wait for attacks. We prepare for them. But the real surprise wasn't the orbital defenses or the massive fleet. It was the signal from Earth's surface. This is Earth control to all hostile vessels, came a young voice over the communications. This is Kim Min-soo, age 16, speaking for the Civilian Defense Corps. You want our planet? Come and take it. The transmission showed images from Earth's surface. Every city, every town, every settlement was fortified. Civilians trained alongside soldiers. Children learned to use weapons alongside mathematics. The entire population of humanity was ready to fight. Every human is a soldier, General Hong explained to the attacking fleet. Every building is a fortress. Every street is a battlefield. You can land your armies, but you'll face 4 billion humans who would rather die than surrender. Zektar realized the horrible truth. The humans hadn't just built defenses against invasion. They had turned their entire species into a weapon. Begin bombardment, he ordered desperately. Burn it all. The alien fleet opened fire with weapons that could crack continents. Energy beams lashed out toward Earth's surface, only to splash harmlessly against planetary shields that shouldn't have existed. Shield technology courtesy of 57 different species, Dr. Yu announced from the Defense Center. Amazing what you can accomplish when everyone works together. The coalition fleet struck back with coordinated precision. Ships that had once fought each other now moved in perfect harmony. Human tactical doctrine combined with alien technology created a fighting force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Moon Tai-ho, son of the original explorer Lee Dae-ho, led a strike force directly at the enemy flagship. His ship, the Eternal Flame, was humanity's newest design. Fast, powerful, and crewed by volunteers from 20 different worlds. This is for everyone you enslaved, he broadcast as his weapons locked onto the alien command ship. This is for everyone you killed. This is for freedom. The battle was over in 6 hours. The combined alien fleet was completely destroyed, their survivors fleeing to the farthest corners of space. Earth remained untouched, protected by beings who had chosen to stand together rather than kneel separately. In the aftermath, Elder Vorthak contacted President Lee from his homeworld. The ancient Kethamori was dying, but his voice was filled with satisfaction. You have succeeded where we failed, he told her. You have shown the galaxy what freedom truly means. We couldn't have done it without your guidance, Elder, Lee replied respectfully. No, Vorthak said with his final breath. You did it because you are human, because you refused to accept that anyone should live in chains. My people warned the stars about you, but we were wrong. We said the galaxy would tremble. Instead, you have set it free. Captain Moon Tai-ho received new orders within a week. The coalition was sending its first diplomatic mission to the Galactic core, where the oldest civilizations waited to see what this new power would do with its victory. Your mission is simple, President Lee told him. Show them what freedom looks like. Offer them a choice they've never had before, to join as equals rather than serve as subjects. As his ship prepared to depart for the Galactic Center, Moon reflected on his father's words from so long ago. Lee Dae-ho had dreamed of reaching the stars. He could never have imagined that his son would be carrying humanity's message to the heart of the galaxy itself. The message was simple. carried by beings who had proven that nothing, absolutely nothing, could resist the human spirit when it refused to be broken. We didn't come to conquer. We came to free. Join us or stand aside, but never again will anyone kneel. The Elder had been right about one thing. They had warned the stars about humanity. But instead of bringing fear, humans had brought hope. Instead of conquest, they had brought liberation. Instead of slavery, they had brought the one thing the galaxy had forgotten how to value: freedom. And in the vast archives of the Keth Mori, ancient prophecies spoke of a time when the fire of liberty would spread across the stars, carried by warriors who knew no defeat and accepted no surrender. That time had come. The galaxy belonged to the free, and humanity had shown them all what freedom truly meant.